Article 110.26c of the National Electrical Code addresses the requirements for headroom around electrical equipment. This section is crucial for ensuring the safety and accessibility of electrical installations. Specifically, it outlines the minimum vertical clearance required above switchboards, panel boards, and distribution boards. Understanding these requirements is essential for compliant and safe electrical work. The primary focus of Article 110.26c is to provide sufficient space for electricians and other qualified personnel to safely access and work on electrical equipment. Adequate headroom prevents accidental contact with energized components and allows for proper maneuvering and maintenance. The code differentiates headroom requirements based on voltage levels. For installations where the voltage between conductors exceeds 600 volts, a minimum headroom of 6 feet 6 inches is mandated. This higher clearance is necessary due to the increased risk associated with higher voltage systems. However, for installations operating at 600 volts or less, a reduced minimum headroom of 6 feet 3 inches is permitted. This allowance recognizes the lower risk profile of these systems while still ensuring adequate working space. When determining headroom, it is important to measure from the finished floor or working platform to the lowest obstruction above the electrical equipment. Obstructions may include ceilings, pipes, ducts, or any other structural elements that could impede access. The measurement should be taken directly above the equipment and extend across its entire width. In cases where obstructions are present, it may be necessary to modify the installation to achieve the required headroom. This could involve raising the equipment, rerouting obstructions, or relocating the installation to a more suitable location. It is important to note that the NEC is a minimum standard, and local codes or regulations may impose more stringent requirements. Always consult with local authorities and qualified professionals to ensure full compliance with all applicable codes. Furthermore, it is essential to consider future needs when planning electrical installations. While the current headroom may meet the minimum requirements, it is prudent to anticipate potential upgrades or modifications that could necessitate additional space. By providing ample headroom, you can avoid costly rework and ensure long-term flexibility. Consider a scenario where a 400 amp single-phase service is being installed. According to the NEC, if this service operates at 600 volts or less, the minimum required headroom is 6 feet 3 inches. However, if the voltage exceeds 600 volts, the minimum headroom increases to 6 feet 6 inches. It's vital to verify the voltage level of the service to determine the correct headroom requirement. In situations where existing installations do not meet the current headroom requirements, it may be necessary to implement corrective measures. This could involve relocating the equipment, modifying the surrounding structure, or seeking a variance from local authorities. However, it is crucial to prioritize safety and compliance in all such decisions. In addition to headroom requirements, the NEC also addresses other aspects of working space around electrical equipment. These include minimum width and depth clearances, as well as requirements for illumination and access. All of these factors contribute to creating a safe and efficient working environment for electrical personnel. The minimum width of the working space is typically determined by the voltage and ampacity of the equipment. Higher voltage and ampacity installations generally require wider working spaces to provide adequate room for maneuvering and maintenance. The depth of the working space is measured from the front of the equipment to the nearest obstruction. This distance must be sufficient to allow for safe operation and maintenance of the equipment. The NEC provides specific tables and guidelines for determining the appropriate depth based on the voltage and configuration of the installation. Adequate illumination is essential for safe and effective work in electrical rooms. The NEC requires sufficient lighting to illuminate the working space and equipment, allowing personnel to clearly identify components and hazards. The placement of lighting fixtures should be carefully considered to minimize shadows and glare. Access to electrical equipment must be clear and unobstructed. The NEC requires that a clear path be maintained from the entrance to the equipment, free from obstacles such as storage boxes, furniture, or other materials. The access path should be wide enough to allow personnel to safely carry tools and equipment. Regular inspections and maintenance are crucial for ensuring the continued safety and compliance of electrical installations. These inspections should include verification of headroom, working space, illumination, and access. Any deficiencies should be promptly corrected to prevent accidents and ensure the reliable operation of the equipment. When planning electrical installations, it is always advisable to consult with qualified electrical engineers and contractors. These professionals have the knowledge and experience to ensure that the installation meets all applicable codes and standards while also addressing the specific needs of the facility. In summary, Article 110.26c of the NEC establishes minimum headroom requirements for electrical equipment to ensure the safety and accessibility of installations. Understanding and complying with these requirements is essential for preventing accidents and ensuring the reliable operation of electrical systems. Always consult with qualified professionals and local authorities to ensure full compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Remember that the information provided here is for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always refer to the latest edition of the NEC and consult with qualified professionals for specific applications. The NEC is updated regularly to reflect advancements in technology and changes in safety standards. Therefore, it is important to stay informed of the latest requirements and interpretations. Many resources are available to assist in understanding and applying the NEC, including training courses, seminars, and online forums. Taking advantage of these resources can help ensure that you are up to date on the latest code requirements and best practices. Consider the specific context of the electrical installation when applying the NEC requirements. Factors such as the type of equipment, the voltage level, and the environmental conditions can all influence the appropriate application of the code. Always use sound engineering judgment and consult with qualified professionals when making decisions about electrical installations. The goal of the NEC is to provide a framework for safe and reliable electrical installations. By following the code and consulting with qualified professionals, you can help ensure the safety of yourself and others. The NEC is not intended to be a substitute for proper training and experience. Electrical work should only be performed by qualified individuals who have the necessary skills and knowledge. Improper electrical work can be dangerous and can lead to serious injury or death. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and eye protection, to energize circuits before working on them whenever possible. Use caution when working near energized equipment. Be aware of potential hazards and take steps to mitigate them. In addition to the NEC, other codes and standards may also apply to electrical installations. These may include local building codes, fire codes, and industry-specific standards. It is important to be familiar with all applicable codes and standards before beginning any electrical work. The NEC is a complex and comprehensive document. It is not possible to cover all aspects of the code in a single discussion. However, by understanding the basic principles and requirements of the code, you can help ensure the safety and reliability of electrical installations. Always consult with qualified professionals and local authorities for specific applications and interpretations of the code. Electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By following the NEC and other applicable codes and standards, we can all help create a safer environment for ourselves and others. Remember to stay informed of the latest code requirements and best practices. Take advantage of available resources such as training courses and seminars. Consult with qualified professionals when needed. And always prioritize safety when working with electricity. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, serves as the cornerstone for safe electrical installations across the United States. Its comprehensive guidelines and regulations are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. One critical aspect of the NEC is its focus on providing adequate working space around electrical equipment, ensuring that electricians and other qualified personnel can safely install, maintain, and operate these systems. Article 110.26 of the NEC specifically addresses the requirements for working space around electrical equipment operating at 600 volts or less. This article outlines the minimum clearances required in front of electrical equipment, as well as the minimum width and height of the working space. The primary goal of these requirements is to provide sufficient room for electricians to perform their tasks safely and efficiently. Adequate working space allows electricians to maneuver tools and equipment, inspect components, and perform repairs without being exposed to electrical hazards. The NEC specifies different working space requirements based on the voltage and ampacity of the electrical equipment. Higher voltage and ampacity equipment generally requires larger working spaces to accommodate the increased risk associated with these systems. The working space requirements are typically defined in terms of minimum depth, width, and height clearances. The depth clearance refers to the distance from the front of the electrical equipment to any obstruction, such as a wall or another piece of equipment. The width clearance refers to the horizontal distance on either side of the electrical equipment. The height clearance refers to the vertical distance from the floor to the lowest overhead obstruction. In addition to the minimum clearances, the NEC also specifies requirements for illumination and access to the working space. Adequate lighting is essential for electricians to see clearly and identify potential hazards. Clear and unobstructed access to the working space is also crucial for safe and efficient work. The NEC recognizes that there may be situations where it is not feasible to provide the minimum working space clearances. In these cases, the NEC allows for certain exceptions and modifications provided that the safety of the installation is not compromised. One common exception is for equipment located in small rooms or enclosures where the available space is limited. In these situations, the NEC may allow for reduced working space clearances provided that certain conditions are met. For example, the NEC may require that the equipment be de-energized before any work is performed, or that additional safety precautions be taken. Another exception is for equipment located in hazardous locations, where the presence of flammable gases or vapors may require additional safety measures. In these situations, the NEC may require that the equipment be explosion-proof or intrinsically safe, and that the working space be properly ventilated. It is important to note that any exceptions or modifications to the working space requirements must be carefully evaluated to ensure that the safety of the installation is not compromised. A qualified electrical engineer or inspector should be consulted to determine the appropriate course of action. In addition to the specific requirements for working space around electrical equipment, the NEC also contains general requirements for electrical safety. These requirements include the use of proper grounding and bonding techniques, the installation of overcurrent protection devices, and the use of approved wiring methods. Compliance with these requirements is essential for preventing electrical shocks, fires, and other hazards. The NEC is a complex and comprehensive document, and it is important to stay up to date on the latest revisions and interpretations. The NEC is typically updated every 3 years, and each new edition may contain significant changes to the working space requirements and other safety regulations. It is also important to be aware of any local amendments or interpretations to the NEC, as these may vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Consulting with a qualified electrical engineer or inspector is the best way to ensure compliance with the NEC and other applicable codes and standards. These professionals can provide expert guidance on the proper installation, maintenance, and operation of electrical equipment, and can help to identify and mitigate potential electrical hazards. In conclusion, providing adequate working space around electrical equipment is a critical aspect of electrical safety. The NEC contains specific requirements for working space clearances, illumination, and access, which are designed to protect electricians and other qualified personnel from electrical hazards. While the NEC allows for certain exceptions and modifications to the working space requirements, these must be carefully evaluated to ensure that the safety of the installation is not compromised. Compliance with the NEC and other applicable codes and standards is essential for preventing electrical shocks, fires, and other hazards, and for ensuring the safe and reliable operation of electrical systems.